Here's the bull. I have a new revelation. Now, back about, I don't even know when this shit started. People started going inside the tombs of pyramids, and they started going through several labyrinths and such that are inside pyramids. And they looked at all the stuff that's in them, and they looked at all the intricate designs on the walls. And they came back and they said, wow, look at these designs. They look like snakes. Some of them look like they're worshipping something. Or they could be aliens. Alright? Now, we don't know if the people who found this didn't chisel it in the wall themselves right then and there, and then film it and say, okay, look what I found. You know? Now, some of it, I'm certain, was carved in as they were building the pyramids. But who's to say that these people didn't add stuff into it afterwards and then film it? It wouldn't be the first time that people have done things to fool other people. Our government did it back when they say that we first landed in the moon on Earth, in America, to try to convince the people that we own the moon. To try to say that because we were there first, we own it. So they made a fake video. And then later we actually went there. Now, they're saying that there are aliens out there, and that people are seeing these UFOs. Back when Hitler was doing his little Third Reich and shit, and he was during World War II, Hitler was trying to create these round disc-like objects. Now, they recently uncovered one of those disc-like objects. They opened it up, and they discovered that it was just basically like an internal fan, much like the, what's that thing called? You know, the hover scooter-like thing. Cops use it when they're in the mall. The Segway. Much like the Segway, how it has an internal fan that where it rotates one way, it rotates the other way to create lift. That's what lifts the people's feet up. So that way they can just sort of lean forward, backwards, etc. And then they have a motor that turns the wheels and shit. All that. It was much like that. It was like a helicopter that had reverse direction so it could hover. Now, it seems like such a simple idea. They were trying to create, the Germans were trying to create ways to bring bombs over the country so they could drop a bomb and blow the place up. They're trying to figure out new ways to bring them there. And one of them just happened to look like a disc-like object. Several scientists confirmed this. And to this day, these scientists have not only confirmed it, but they explained how they were lying on purpose. Like, they were telling Hitler that they didn't know how to create this object, when really they did know how, and they were purposely fucking shit up, and they were making it incorrectly, so that way it didn't work, because none of it worked. On purpose, because they didn't want Hitler to have the power, because they didn't want him to win the war. Now with this, they have created an idea of aliens and such, when in actuality, they were just creating more weapons. Who is to say that the government isn't making hovering, disc-like objects over in space areas, over top of buildings and shit, just to scare people? Or they're they're trying to scare people. And then with that fear, they can go ahead and abduct people and do whatever they want, because it's against the law to abduct people. It is against the law for the government to abduct people. But if the government has a reason, like, oh, they're aliens abducting people, alright? And all the person sees is a bright light before they get abducted, then they get away with it scot-free. And they get to run all the experiments they want. Now that they have a scapegoat, they can run all the tests they want. And they can blame it on aliens, and they're going to just keep milking it for all it's worth. It's a very effective and easy thing to do. believe it's very true. It's very likely. I mean, you gotta look at all the evidence. Every UFO ever seen has been near a military base, first of all. Second of all, every abduction story that's ever happened has had potholes in it. Alright? Some people claim that they saw a bright light, they saw a disc-like object, and that was the last thing they saw before they just fainted. And that was happening while they were awake and such. Other people claim that they were abducted in their sleep. Now, who's to say that if the government doesn't have this kind of technology to create, such great devices, like a pill that has a camera in it that'll take over 4,000 pictures inside your own body, if they have shit like that, don't you think they can make little incisions and replace stuff inside your body without opening you up? Alright? I'm sure the government can do things that'll freak the shit out of you. They have an airplane that's shaped like a triangle with a little outcut in it. Who's to say that they didn't just create the exact same airplane, except without putting the little cutout in it? Instead of making it a boomerang, they just made it a full triangle and just flew it all over the place. And they used the reverse spinning to create a hovering effect, so that way it had no propulsion, and yet it was still moving very slowly. And maybe they put some propulsion in it, so that way it would just bounce into the air and it would look like it's moving super fast. But in actuality, it's only going oh so fast, because the propulsion just shot out, and there wasn't any propulsion going in before. So it seems paranormal, and it seems alien-like, when in actuality, it's the government's technology that they have purposely created to scare people into thinking that there's aliens, so that way they can get away with whatever they want. And it's a very likely subject. I mean, I personally think it's true. What am I going to do about it? This is what I'm doing about it. I'm ranting. Because there's no other way I'm going to get people to understand. You have to understand that people are going to go to any measures they have to take in order to get what they want. Now, a scientist who studies, he's a researcher, he researches, and he also has certain degrees in science. He studies UFO abductions, and he states that in these abductions, a lot of people, they're taken to a room where they see several images over and over and over and over and over. Now, when you see an image once, it means nothing to the brain. It just blows it off, no big deal. But when you see it a couple times over and over and over, it starts to brainwash. And one of the most common stories heard is that people are seeing images of just normal people in a building or in nature with their kids and such, saying, look, they look just like you. See, we are all the same. Everything is safe. You have no reason to fear us. Now, why would you take a hostile environment? Because these people who are being abducted, they know they're on a spaceship. They know they're in a hostile environment. Now, why did you take somebody who's already afraid and tell them they're okay? Tell them over and over and over until they're brainwashed into thinking that they're okay inside this once thought as a hostile environment. They're doing that so that people think that it's perfectly fine for UFOs to be there. So that way they can keep abducting people without anybody saying anything about it. Because if people think it's okay to abduct, then they can keep abducting people. The government can keep doing their experiments and getting away with it. These skinny little gray creatures, alright? The government has technology for hallucinogens. Alright, we have drugs that can make you hallucinate. Who's to say they don't have drugs that can make you hallucinate a specific image? Who's to say that they don't have robots that look something like that, and they use a hallucinogen to make the robots seem more, flexible? You understand what I'm saying? The people wake up and they see these aliens. It's not like they just walked into a room and they're like, hey, look, aliens. No, they're always asleep, and then they wake up and see it. Why do you think that is? You don't know what kind of drugs